Time to take a look now what's been grabbing headlines here in France. I'm joined on set by Florence Villemineux. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Thomas.
Florence. And of course, the Brexit referendum in the UK is still grabbing headlines here in France. Libération is focusing on those who are holding out hope, though, that it won't go through after all.
That's right. Some people are hoping that this divorce won't take place. Let's take a look at the front page of Libération today. There's a little play on words. It says, from the Brexit to the Brexit. Now, that is the international noise for something fizzling out, at least.
It's lemonade, no?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Libération says the reason that a lot of people are holding out hope is because for now, the future seems a little blurry. The Prime Minister David Cameron says he won't go against the popular vote, but he refuses to be the one to push the button to get the clock rolling that will, get the ball rolling for the Brexit to actually happen. So all this is feeding hope, and people are starting to wonder, could the UK not leave after all?
Several papers are arguing that it's important to listen to the people, though. If a majority voted to leave, that's what the UK must do.
That's right. That's what several papers are saying in their editorial, Le Figaro being one of them. It says, politicians, whether it's UK politicians or European politicians, must not play deaf here. And in fact, Le Figaro has a warning for the European Union. It says it mustn't ignore such a vote, and in fact, politicians across the board shouldn't be opposed to change. And La Croix, what's interesting, this is the Catholic paper, agrees that it's dangerous to drag our feet when it comes to the Brexit. Negotiations must start quickly for two reasons, according to La Croix. First of all, this period of uncertainty is terrible for the economy. And second of all, we must respect the will of the British people, even if we disagree with what they voted on. There have already been instances in the past in Europe where EU countries refused hostile referendums against the European Union. And according to La Croix, Europe didn't gain anything from refusing these referendums except for a rise in extremism.
Meanwhile, there's been a show of unity among the remaining leaders of the European Union. They've vowed to speed things up to ensure that Westminster quits the Union as soon as possible.
That's right. You can read about that in Les Echos, the business paper, where you can see a photo there of the French President François Hollande meeting with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and the Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi in Berlin yesterday. And you can see that headline, Paris, Berlin, and Rome are united against London, even though they don't see eye to eye about everything. For instance, François Hollande says we mustn't waste time with the UK exit, while Merkel says we must analyze the situation carefully. So she's being a little bit more cautious here. Now, Le Figaro isn't buying any of this unity. If we take a look at their front page today, you can see that it's talking about the fact that the real problem here isn't so much the Brexit. It's the fact that François Hollande and Angela Merkel don't really have a project for Europe. Their idea-making machine is out of order, according to Le Figaro. There are no new ideas to answer this major political crisis that has been sparked in the wake of the Brexit and to fill the vacuum that we're seeing with the UK leaving.
But other papers are saying that the Brexit is having significant ripple effects on European politics in general.
That's right. Speaking of that vacuum, if we take a look at the front page of L'Opinion, it says that nature hates a vacuum, and the perspective of an imminent Brexit, British exit, is shaking up the political landscape in Europe. We're seeing a new geography of European powers, in particular, a kind of union of southern European powers. You can see that cartoon there with Hollande and the leaders of Italy, Spain, and Greece. Their togas are a little patchy, it must be said. And they're saying it's time to give the power back to Latin countries and Greece. Meanwhile, Angela Merkel, she's saying the abyss calls forth the abyss in Latin. That's a Latin saying. So L'Opinion says this kind of new alliance maybe isn't such a good idea.
Okay, Florence, I'm personally a little tired talking about my country leaving the European Union. Let's move on to some other world news. And there are more demonstrations planned against the government's labour law proposals here in France.
That's right. It's the 11th day of action against this law. So people are still angry about it. Le Parisien reports that protesters are really worried that the government is going to use a constitutional loophole known as the 49.3 to ram this law through Parliament. It actually already used this to push the law through Parliament a first time. Now the law is being examined in the Senate. It's going to come back to the Parliament. And Le Parisien says that according to a poll, 7 out of 10 people say no way the government should not use this exceptional constitutional loophole again. Now, Protests are going to continue today. Lots of papers are focusing on what the police, how they're dealing with it, because they're feeling a little fed up because they're bearing the brunt of all this anger after all. Very interesting article in Le Parisien today, once again, about a fresco, actually, in the city of Grenoble. You can see it right there. There's a street art festival going on, and this fresco is part of it. It's been dubbed the state clubbing freedom, beating up freedom. And you can see riot police there essentially beating up Marianne. Marianne is the symbol of the French Republic. Police are really upset about it, say it's anti-police. In fact, the Interior Minister, Bernard Cazeneuve, has also voiced his disapproval. The mayor of Grenoble, however, is defending this fresco and says if the Minister of the Interior has a problem with it, well, he should make a list of art that is acceptable, approval. And you can see here they're talking about, is this artistically incorrect? Lots of papers are talking about it today.
Okay, Florence, thank you very much for that spin through the French press this hour. Let's take a very short break now, but don't go anywhere. There's more world news and headlines in just a few moments' time. Do stay tuned.